You can see the park zone servos that come on the Night Radian have a little bit of slop in them. You can see I can move that back and forth. I don't like that, and I also don't like the reports of these servos failing and causing a crash. I'm going to be replacing the servos on the Night Radian with these Turnigy TGY 50090M Metal Gear servos. Because they're Metal Gear, these servos are less likely to strip out and also have less slop than the stock servos in the Night Radian. To do the job, we're going to need two of the servos, a regular X-Acto blade, and then some kind of blade that can be extended long enough to get in beside the servos, sort of like this. We also need some tweezers and a small screwdriver and some kind of glue like this foam tack glue that's foam safe. You'll also need a servo tester to center up the servos and to make sure they work properly before you install them. I'm powering this using this 5-volt UBEC from a 3-cell LiPo battery. For those of you who have never seen the Night Radian, the access to the servos is actually on the bottom right here inside a hatch that you can easily open up to get to them. Okay, first thing to do is to remove the screw on the servo arm. Just going to save the screw for later if I need it. Just put it right there. Judge about how much depth you're going to need on the blade. Looks like right about there. So I'm going to make a mark right here on my blade so I know how deep I'm going. Now work along the edges of the servo just to remove any glue that might be at the edge of it. Just up to the line right there. Do this on both sides. Get underneath the servo with some tweezers and just lift up until you can get it out. And now you can see all the rubberized, sort of like RTV or silicone rubber cement that they had on there. I did take out a little piece of the foam right here, not too bad. There's the hole right down in there. Okay, removing the screw from the other servo arm. Alright, now we're going to do this servo the same way, paying attention to the line. Only need to go as deep as that line. Take your time, just need to get it loose on the edge. I'm just going to go along the side here and just see if I can get in and remove any glue on the end right here. Maybe save some of the foam. Get these. And then we'll just lift it out. And there it is. Not too bad. Okay, now just pulling the servo cables out. Now that we've removed the two servos from the Night Radian, we need to make sure that the leads on the new servos are just as long as the old ones. Turns out these Turnigys are about the same lead length. Also, we want to check them on the servo tester to make sure they actually do work the full length of their travel and that there's no problems. We don't want to end up having to remove them again because one of them is bad. Every so often you do get a bad one from the factory. So always check them on a servo tester, which you'll probably have to do anyway to center them up. Notice the servo arms on the Night Radian servos are very long, so that means we're going to need the longest one we can get out of the package. Actually looks like the one that's a cross formation is a little bit longer, so why don't we just go ahead and use that. We can always cut off these nubs on the side. Let's see, but one end is longer than the other, so make sure you cut off the short end. Okay, so that gives us close to the same. Well, let's cut off this short end. like that. So that's what we're going to work with. It's not quite as long as the others, so we'll just put it out on the end hole. So let's go ahead and drill out the end hole here, just so it's the right size. I can't tell you what size that drill bit is, but it's about the same size as the control rod. Just find a drill like that and drill out that end hole. Okay, next we just want to make sure the servo is centered up. We got the servo horn on there, right? So let's put this on neutral and make sure this is on the center, which it looks like it is. We can go to make sure it'll go the full length of its travel. You can kind of see that that is in the center when it's in neutral, so that's how we want it. You want to go through this test just to make sure the servo is fully functional and it's sitting at 90 degrees. So as you can see, this servo is going to replace that one. Now we'll set the other servo up in the same configuration this one is, so it'll be pointing this way. Okay, I've got the second servo set up like the stock servo was. So now we have both pairs. We have a pair the same configuration as the stock servos. Now we're ready to install. Alright, just going to glue a little bit of Depron onto the wall of the servo hole. And that's because the servo fits a little bit loose. Now this is very thin Depron. You can get this on the internet and order it. This is a sheet of it right here. It's less than 1/8 of an inch thick, probably 3/32. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and put that right in the hole here using this foam tack, and that's going to make that servo fit nice and tight. Let's go ahead and glue in the servo. I'm going to be putting glue on the front side here, the bottom, and this back side over here, a little bit right here too. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let's apply the glue, a little bit right here, and then we want to go on the back side, and we can put this pretty much on the whole back side. Okay, now let's just test fit it. Now foam tack takes a little bit of time to tack up. There's a little block down in here and it's up against that. Now I'm going to pull it back out and let that glue tack up. Okay, so it's been about 30 seconds to a minute. I'm going to go ahead and put the servo back in there. And as you can see, it's very tight now. Try to get it level. Okay, now that it's in there, let's go ahead and put the servo arm on. Putting it on the last hole. Move that around. And now we'll go ahead and turn on our servo tester and put it on neutral. I'm watching my rudder at the other end just to make sure the rudder's kind of in the center when I put this down. And I can move this servo around, get my rudder in the center where it looks pretty much in the center. And after we do that, when it dries, it should be centered up. And this foam tack gives you time to move it around a little bit and get it right where the rudder is pretty much in the center. And I'm just looking down here at the end to make sure that rudder right there is centered up. While we're waiting, I'm going to glue in the Depron for this side, and it's going to go right in here like that. So just put a little glue in this area and along the top here, because there is a hole in the fuselage down in there, so I don't need to glue the very bottom in this corner. Alright, I'm going to place it in there. Just pressing it down against this side wall. So I think this Depron down here is cured enough now. Let's go ahead and install a servo. I think what I'm going to do is take both servo arms off just to get a little bit of room here. And then I'm going to put some glue on it and slide it into the hole. Alright, got the foam tack on it. This is the foam tack, in case you haven't seen it already. Alright, I'm going to go down in the hole, and this is going to go actually glue against the other servo somewhat. Takes a little bit of finagling. But you hadn't heard that word finagling in a while. Anyway, there we go. It's down in there. Looks pretty good. Let's see if I can put the servo arm on it. See where that comes out. Looks good. Okay, again, we're going to go ahead and center it up with the servo tester. Put it in neutral position here. And while still centered up, we'll place it on there. So like that, and then this one was like this. But if there's anything wrong with it, we'll fix it up later before we put the 2 screws in. But right now we just want to let this dry. Glue is dry and the job is basically done. I'm just putting the 2 screws back in. Now we just need to fish the 2 servo cables back in and connect them to the receiver, and then we can just test the control surfaces to make sure everything works. So now let's give it a little test and see how it works. Looks good to me. It may not be the perfect way, but at least gives you an idea what you're looking at when you get in there to do it. Thanks for watching.